Okay, so a very great evening to you. Thank you so very much for joining us again on another exciting Upgrade Mastery just for you. Yes, this is the Upgrade Mastery just for you, and we do this every Fridays from 7 p.m. through to 8 p.m. And we basically just get to relax, unwind, share a few things that we've learned from the week, the challenges we faced, the way we're able to overcome them, the lessons we learned, and all of that. So basically, what we get to do here every Fridays is just to let down our hair and just be free, just relax, just unwind, and just share all the things that we've learned during the week. It has been an interesting week, no doubt, being a week filled of so many activities, so many things you had to do, and all of that. So basically, that's what we get to do on the Upgrade Mastery just for you. So basically, spend this time with you. So we'll get to know how your week has been, what have you done, things you achieved, the decisions you made, the things you procrastinated on, the things you could have done that you did not do, and all of that. So we just get to look holistically at the whole week, all the things that happened for you, all the experiences you had, and all of that. And we can pick out the lessons from them because this would help us in our journey as we make progress, right? So that's basically what we get to do on the Upgrade Mastery just for you. And I'm super excited to have you here join us again this Friday. It's been an amazing week, right? This is the first Friday in the month of March 2025. And I hope that your year has been going as expected. February is done and dusted. January is done and dusted. This is March. And what are the things that you have in store for your month of March? What are the plans that you have? What are the things that you want to achieve? What are the goals that you set out to achieve this month of March, right? And I believe that with you doing what you should do, you'll definitely be able to achieve those goals that you want to achieve. So, how are you doing? How are you doing? How was your week? What did you do this week? How's your health, by the way? How's your health, right? How have you been so far in the month of March? What has really been given for you? The Gen Z always says it's not given. What has been given for you in this month of March, right? This week was an interesting week for me. I had some things I needed to handle, and yes, a lot of pressure last minute and all of that. But yeah, we're still working on them. We're still seeing the result, and it's going to be massive, right? We did some project this week. We're looking out for the outcome by next week and kicking off a major project again next week. And the plans are on the way this week. So there are a lot of plans that are happening, and I look forward to how these plans will be executed come next week, right? So be certain there's a lot of things I'm going to unveil to you by next week, right? So stay tuned, don't go anywhere. But it's not about me, it's about mastery just for you. What are your plans? What did you do this week? Like, tell me, what did you do this week? What stood out for you? What were the challenges you faced? How were you able to overcome them? What were those things that just make you look like, thank God the week is over? Or what are the things that make you look like, wow, I had a great, great week. This week was phenomenal for me. So tell me about it. Tell me about it. I want to know about how your week went, right? Tell me about it. How did your week go? How did your week go this week? Okay, so on our upgrade master just for you, we've been going on a series. So we had the series on uh Joseph. We just finished the series on Joseph, part one, part two, part three, part four. So we did the four-part series on Joseph, was phenomenal. And then before then, we had done the series on Jonah. We have done the series on Jabez, right? So we've done Jonah, we've done Jabez, we've done Joseph, and today we're going to talk about something in that style of series, but just a very interesting series, right? This is just a one-part series and is done and dusted, just like we had for Jabez. I told you during the Jabez series that Jabez is the shortest story in the Bible, a story of two verses, the shortest story in the Bible. But this one we're doing now is another short story, but is one chapter story. Right? The whole story is in one chapter. Unlike Jabez, where the whole story is in two verses, right? So that's the story we're going to talk about. But this story is not going to be themed after a name because We've been doing the JJ names all the while. We did Jabez, we did Jonah, now we did Joseph. Now, this is another J name, but we're not going to target the J name because this one is something we want to look at from another perspective. But it's a J name also. So this is another J, but we're not going to just put the J name out there. So we're going to call it DVOW, right? DVOW. So this series is a one-part series with a J name also, but it's called DVOW, right? Because we want to talk about the vow, VOW, the vow, the promise, the oath, what you said that you're going to do, and you must honor it regardless of what it is going to cost you, right? So today, our story takes us down memory lane in the book of Judges. Judges, right? Judges. So Judges, the book of Judges, Judges chapter 11, right? Judges chapter 11, that's where our story goes. And that story is a very interesting story, right? It's the story of a guy named Jabez, right? Jabez is the guy. That's the story that we are talking about. Jabez, right? The vow. We're talking about Jabez. Jabez is the guy in this story in Judges chapter 11, right? And there's so much to learn from Jabez. So feel free to ask your questions. Feel free to share what stood out for you in this lesson. It's really going to help, and it's really going to be worth your while. So I'm going to start reading the book of Judges chapter 11, and then we'll begin the conversation because there's something that I really want you to learn. Now, I have 5 lessons to share from this particular conversation. 5 important lessons that I'm going to share from this conversation. Just stick around, don't go anywhere, and feel free to ask your questions as it arises. Any question that comes to your mind as you listen to the story, feel free to ask the question, and it'll be fun to answer that question for you so you can gain insight into what it is that we are talking about here. All right. So thank you so much for joining. Hi. Thank you so much for joining. Hi. Thanks. I see you. Thank you for joining. Tejri. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you for joining. Okay. So let's go. Judges chapter 11. Let's begin the story. Now, the story begins in a very interesting way, in a way where story should not even start. The way the story starts is not the way story should ever begin. It says, now, Jephthah, right? Was talking about the story of Jephthah. Remember, the first J was Jabez, and then we went to Jonah, and then we went to Joseph, and now we're looking at Jephthah. Now, it says, now, Jephthah, the Gileadite from Gilead, right, was a mighty man of valor, and he was the son of Lot. And Gilead beget Jephthah. That's Gilead, his father. And Gilead's wife bare him sons, and Gilead's wife's sons grew up, and they thrust out Jephthah and said unto him, thou shalt not inherit in our father's house, for thou art the son of a strange woman. Now, let's backtrack. First off, the story opens now. Jephthah the Gileadite was a mighty man of valor. Take note of that regardless of the outcome of Jephthah's birth, Jephthah chose not to have an excuse for his life. You know, one of the things you see a lot of people do is that they kind of have excuses for their lives. Okay, things are not going the way they expect. They have an excuse. Oh, the excuse is because I was abused. The excuse is because I was traumatized growing up. The excuse was because I didn't have a father or I didn't have a mother. The excuse was because no one cared about me. So they have an excuse. And the truth is, those excuses seems okay. It seems good enough to say, okay, oh, it's because of that. Oh, because, you know, Cobhams once said something. Cobhams Asuquo, the musical artist producer, once said that never excuse failure for any reason, for any account. Never excuse failure. right? Because many times we seem to have an excuse for the reason why we are not doing what we should do. Oh, because this. Oh, because this. Oh, because this. So there's always a plethora of excuse. And I always tell people this, that excuses at its best are good reasons for bad results. They are the tools of the incompetent, and they that use them are not wise, which means that no excuse is good enough. Jephthah, he was a mighty man of valor. You don't become a mighty man of valor if you are lazy. You don't become a mighty man of valor if you don't do great deeds. You don't become a mighty man of valor if you don't take responsibility for your life. So the first lesson to learn from Jephthah is very important. And I'm going to type that out so that you can follow me on this. Lesson number one is no excuse is good enough. No excuse is good enough. Jephthah realized that and said, fine, okay, my brothers don't want me to have inheritance with them because my mom is a harlot. No problem. But I'm going to be a good person. I'm going to be a great man. I'm going to be a mighty man of valor. And that's my responsibility. So I don't have an excuse to say, okay, because I was a product from a harlot, so my life is now useless. No, no. So how does that relate to us in our everyday life? Because one of the things that we do from these teachings and from these sessions is to see how, even though there are stories in the Bible, they have a very everyday application to life today. The first application is this first lesson that we're also talking about, which is no excuse is good enough. People don't like you, it's not a good enough excuse. Oh, nobody cares about you, it's not a good enough excuse. Oh, you don't have money, it's not a good enough excuse. No excuse is good enough. Why? Because excuses are good reasons for bad results. And the more you make excuses, the less you would have uses. I'll say that again. The more you make excuses, the less you have uses. So what you could have used, it now becomes an excuse. So the same reason why you're not doing what you should doing becomes the excuse why you're not doing what you should be doing. So, oh, the reason why you failed is because, oh, you couldn't pay your fees on time. Okay, good excuse. But then, if you had been reading and then suddenly you had money to pay the fees, you will still be prepared for the exam. So the truth is this, no excuse is good enough. No matter what it is that you may be going through or how you want to define it, it's still not good enough. Because you must not resign yourself to fate just because fate has dealt with you the wrong hand. Look at Jephthah's scenario. He was born by a harlot. Even his father's children rejected him because they said he was the son of a strange woman. But yet, Jephthah did not use that as a reason to be wayward. He didn't use that as a reason to be a failure. After all, no one's going to accept me. He didn't use that as an excuse. Instead, he became a mighty man of valor. He took responsibility for his life, so much so that he was regarded as a mighty man of valor. His brothers or his half brothers, who were his father's children, rightfully, not from a harlot, they were not regarded as mighty men of valor. So that tells you that who you become is entirely up to you, not your circumstances, not your environment, but you. Because even in the wrong environment, you can still thrive. Because thriving is you, not the environment. Because in Genesis 26, when there was famine in the land and everyone was going, Isaac still prospered in that same land. So thriving and success is you, and you take it with you everywhere you go. which means you take your climate everywhere you go. You carry your atmosphere everywhere you go. So Jephthah realized that although I am born out of wedlock, and even worse off from a prostitute, no problem. But I will take responsibility for my life. It is my mom that is a prostitute, it is not me that's a prostitute. Right? So I'm not going to let her background to keep my back on the ground. Do you get that? You will not let the background of your situation to keep your back on the ground. So Jephthah says, no, I'm going to take responsibility for my life. I'm going to be great. I'm going to be a mighty man of valor. And that he became. That he became. To the point that it was officially regarded that that guy is a man of valor. But yet, he was the one that was put out and said, no, you will not inherit properties with us because you are the son of a strange woman. You see, I think somehow that you can put verse 2 before verse 1, that when they pushed him out to say, oh, you're not going to inherit with us, Jephthah said, okay, no wahala. I'm going to take responsibility for my life now. And then he became mighty. Or whichever one it is, the point to note here that Jephthah realized that no excuse is good enough. And that's the first lesson I want you to take from this conversation today. No excuse is good enough. No matter where you find yourself, make use of where you find yourself and not an excuse. Are you getting it? Wherever you find yourself, make the best use of that environment and not use it as an excuse. Where people would expect you to fail, make the best use of that environment and succeed. Where people would expect you to be sad and gloomy, make the best use of the situation and still find your own vibe, your own peace, your own happiness. I say this to people all the time, and I say that the happiest people don't have the best of everything. Guess what? The happiest people make the best out of everything. That's the difference. They don't have the best of everything, but they make the best out of everything. Why? Because they realize that no excuse is good enough. And once you understand this, it changes how you live your life. It changes how you view things. It changes how you behave, because you now know that if it is to be, it is up to you. You know that saying that, oh, okay, Sarah, whatever will be, will be. No, whatever will be will not be. It will not be. If it is to be, it's up to you. So you must take responsibility for your life, knowing that no excuse is good enough. So that's the first lesson we pick out from the life of Jephthah in this story, the VOW. Right? So we move on from that and we see another interesting lesson from Jephthah, the VOW. Lesson 2, which says, I'm going to tell you this lesson 2 now, which is a very important lesson. I'm going to read out from scripture. It says, now they've driven Jephthah away and said he will not take inheritance from them. Verse 3, in Judges 11, it says, and then Jephthah fled from his brethren and dwelt in the land of Tob. And there were gathered vain men to Jephthah and went out with him. This is a very critical point that you must listen to and pay attention to. So lesson number 2, build people. One of the best things you can ever do for yourself in your journey, after your personal development, the next best thing you can do for yourself is to build people. Yes, is to build people. And I don't know how people live life without thinking of their need to build people. See, whatever you do for yourself, it stays with you, it ends with you, it dies with you. But whatever you do for others, it outlives you. So, 2 great investments you can ever make in your life. Number 1, investment in self. You invest in your mind, invest in your growth, invest in your personal development. The second investment is the investment in people. You don't go wrong when you build people. But then people say, okay, if you build people, what if they leave? Question I always ask is, if you don't build them and they stay, and then even if they leave, they will never forget where they were built, no matter where they go. That's how the people who have been the most impactful in your life, you always have the memories of them and how much their impact was in your life. That's it. Nobody ever forgets the people who played a significant role in their lives. Even if they have selective amnesia, they still cannot forget. The second lesson we learned from Jephthah was the fact that even though he was driven away by his own people, his family, he did not drive people away. He brought people closer to himself and built them. Now we see the same thing with David when he ran to the cave of Adullam, when he fled from Saul, and then the people came to meet him in the cave. People who were in debt, who were in distress, who were discontented. Now those same people became David's mighty men because he built them. So what am I telling you is this: regardless of where you find yourself in life, never make an excuse not to use that opportunity to build people, because that's the only thing that will outlive you. Every other thing you do for yourself will end with you, will die with you. But whatever you do for others, it will outlive you. So Jephthah, though he left and went to another town called Tob, people who were vain came to meet him and he built them. This was someone who was regarded as the son of a harlot. The same person who was driven away from his father's house, that he would not have inheritance with his brethren because he was the son of a stranger. Yet, where he went to, people came to him and he built them. So you see, when people are coming your way, that's an opportunity and a rare privilege to impact their lives and build them. See, you're not always going to have that time forever. They're not always going to come to you all their lives. But for that brief space of time, they're going to come around. They're going to be with you. Build them. Invest in them. Ensure that they grow. Ensure that they develop. Ensure that you help bring out the best in them. You know, they say that in every person, there is the best in the person and there's the beast in the person. Do you get that? In every person, there's the best in the person and there's the beast in the person. So whichever one you want, it will come out for you. If you feed the best will come out in the person. If you feed the beast will come out in the person. So these people, they came to Jephthah, and Jephthah helped to build them. Remember, he was a man of valor. So when people came to him who were not of valor, he built them to become people of valor too. So you must invest in building others. Spend time with them. Listen to their dreams and aspirations. See how you can be of support to them. Build them. Build them. See, one of the rare privileges you have in your lifetime is the opportunity to help to build people. In your own little way, words of encouragement, acts of service, right? Build people. Don't just focus on you alone. No. Don't focus on how people can help build you. Also think of how you can build people, right? You meet them at level A, you help take them to level D. You keep building them, taking them, climb the ladder. Don't use people, instead build people. I'll say that again. Don't use people, Instead, build people. But you're going to say, oh, what do I have to build people? What do I have? I'm just me. I don't have so much. I don't have anything. No, you have something. You have your mind. There's a value you can offer. There's a service you can render. That helps to build people. Now take note, when these guys came to Jephthah, Jephthah wasn't doing chamo, spraying money up and down. No, he built them. And to build people, you help build their mind. You help build their character. You help build their awareness. You build their esteem. You help nurture the excellence that they have. You build them. You become an example that they can emulate. You become a role model for them. That helps you to build them. And we see another example too, like I told you earlier, with David. He built the people. When they came to him, they were not called mighty men. It was when they were with him, they became mighty men. And we see the same thing in the life of Jesus. He built his disciples for the space of 3.5 years that he was with them. And when he left, the people took note that these ones had been with Jesus. They called them Christ-like Christians because of how he built them. I love one translation that says they could see the effect of spending time with Jesus, what he had on the disciples. The effect of spending time. See, building people don't happen overnight. It takes time. But as long as they are with you, be willing to invest that time to build them. See, it's the people that you have built that will not build your businesses and your empires for you. I've said that again. It's the people that you have built that will not build your businesses and your empires for you. So you want to build businesses, you want to build empires, build people. The people you build will help you build your businesses. They will help you build your empire. So in your own little way, build people. This is what Jephthah did. He built people. He didn't abandon them. He didn't neglect them. He didn't relegate them to the background. He built them. So make up your mind. Wherever you go, wherever you find yourself, make up your mind. Take it as a responsibility that I will help build people. I will help build people. In my little way, I will help build people. I will contribute my quota in their journey. I will contribute my quota in their journey. I will not abandon them. I will contribute my quota in their journey. So you must learn to help build people. Very important, very critical, and very vital. And the truth is, you don't regret when you build people. They may not appreciate it, but you will not regret it. I'll say that again. You don't regret when you build people. They may not appreciate it, but you will not regret it. And you see, it's always wise to make the most of the opportunity you get to build people, because it's not always going to be there forever. Not always going to be there forever. And there's always the reward that comes when you build people. At a certain point in David's life, when he said he tasted and he wanted water in the enemy's camp, 3 from the guys that he had built broke into the enemy's camp just to get him water. Just to get him water. People will take risk for you because they saw that you took risk to build them. I'll say that again. People will take risk for you because they saw that you took risk to build them. So you don't expect people to take a risk for you when you did not take a risk to build them. They were willing to sacrifice their lives for David just so they could get him water. Why? Because David, at some point, while he was running away from Saul, still sacrificed his life to be building these people who came to him in debt, in distress, and discontented. So lesson number 2 from the story of Jephthah, his team, the vow, is build people. Never leave anyone the same way you met them. Right? Never leave anyone the same way you met them. Contribute your little quota to build them. Leave them better than you met them through how you build them. Do we understand this? Does this make sense? So always have this at the front of your mind, that I'm a builder. I build people. People who come around my space, people who come around me, I build people. I'm a builder. Always have that consciousness. So lesson number 1, no excuse is good enough. Lesson number 2, build people. Now this takes us to lesson number 3, and I love lesson number 3, right? Lesson number 3. Lesson number 3 is the one that always happens. Always happens. Let's go back to scripture. Let's move on now. Let's go back to scripture. Same Judges 11, right? Verse 5. And it says, and it was that when the children of Ammon made war against Israel, the elders of Gilead went to fetch Jephthah out of the land of Tob. And they said unto Jephthah, come and be our captain, that we may fight the children of Ammon. And Jephthah said unto the elders of Gilead, did not ye hate me and expel me out of my father's house? And why are ye come unto me now when you are in distress? And the elders of Gilead said unto Jephthah, therefore we turn again to thee now, that thou mayest go with us and fight against the children of Ammon, and be our head all over the inhabitants of Gilead. And Jephthah said unto the elders of Gilead, if ye bring me home again to fight against the children of Ammon, and the Lord deliver them before me, shall I be your head? And the elders of Gilead said unto Jephthah, the Lord be witness between us, if we do not so according to thy words. Lesson number 3. Lesson number 3. Are you ready for lesson number 3? Are you ready for lesson number 3? I'll tell you. Lesson number 3, they will come. They will come. You know, what I love the most about this lesson is the fact that when life starts to life you, you feel like you are abandoned, you are rejected, you are forsaken, you are a nobody, right? But when you take up the responsibility for your life, when you build people, when you become the person that you are meant to be, the same people who discarded you, the same people who put you aside, the same people who cast you off, the same people who rejected you, the same people will come. They will come. They will come. And Jephthah told them, you guys drove me out of my father's house. You guys said I'm not one of you. How come you're coming to me now that I am a mighty man of valor? I have my army, and now you want my help? I told you this earlier. I said people can only use you when you are useful. Right? They needed Jephthah now because Jephthah was useful. Jephthah has become a mighty man of valor. If Jephthah was a nobody, do you think they'll come back for him? If Jephthah was someone that you cannot write home about, do you think they'll come back for him? They left where they were. Now, Jephthah didn't come negotiating with them, say, okay, can I help you people? No. Jephthah just kept doing his thing, becoming the best that he can be. And they were the ones who came now to meet him and said, Jephthah, come and help us. The same person they rejected, the same person they let go, the same person they said they don't want to be part of, the same people came back. See these guys. They would come. It's a very important lesson. They will come. Your goal is not to go and search for them. Your goal is to keep working on you. When you work on you, the same people who rejected you will come back to appeal to you, to be part of them. They will always come. They will always come. So it's not about you going to look out for people, trying to put yourself out there. No, just keep building yourself. Just keep doing the things that is helping you to grow and become that person that you should be. They will come. They will come. They will come. Jephthah didn't go looking for them. Jephthah didn't go trying to say, okay, no. He was where he was in the town of Tob. The elders in Gilead came to meet him in Tob. So they came to locate him. See, that's to let you know that if you're a person of value, people will look for you wherever you are. I want to bring you to where they are. So when people are not looking for you, it's a sign that you should be working on your value, because your value is not the type that is attractive yet. You know, the chapter of this story begins with Jephthah being a mighty man of valor. So he was a great man of war. And then they also mentioned that he was the son of a prostitute. And then they told us that his own brothers did not want him to have inheritance with them, so they asked him to leave. And he left. He went to Tob. But yet, when the whole Gilead was in trouble, the elders came together and said, okay, let's go and look for Jephthah. Jephthah is one of us that can help us. And Jephthah was like, but you guys send me away. Why you need me right now? The truth is, if you build value, people would come. Stop going to look for people. Build the value that will attract people. Write that down, write that down, write that down. Stop going to look for people. Build the value that will attract people. Build it. Build that value in yourself, in the person you are becoming. It will attract people. Stop going to look for people. Oh, look at me, I'm here. No, stop it. Stop it. Build the value that will now attract the people. I always like to use this analogy. If you put a cube of sugar on a table, guess what? Ants will gather. True or not true? True. Ants will gather. Where did the ants come from? They are attracted to sugar. So the question is not to go and look for ants. The question is to become sugar. Are you getting this? The question is not to look for ants. The question is to become sugar that attracts the ants. Jephthah didn't go begging the elders to say, oh, please, consider me. Where will I go to now? Consider me. Just help me. Biko, help me, help me, help me. No. He built himself. He didn't use their rejection as an excuse. In fact, he used their rejection as redirection. If he could have failed before, their rejection gave him a reason why not to fail. Because then he would have proved them right. So you must learn to convert rejection to redirection. And that's what Jephthah did. That's what he did. He built himself. He built people. And eventually, the same people who rejected him, they came back because they now needed him. I say this all the time. Do not become the needy. Become the needed. Are you getting this? Do not become the needy. Become the needed. Jephthah was not the needy, even though he was the son of a prostitute. He was not the needy. He took responsibility for his life. He became a mighty man of valor. He now became the needed. The elders of Gilead, the same people who threw him out, were the same people who came back begging, come and help us. Come and fight with us. Come and help us. Come and fight with us. The same Jephthah. But see this. The Jephthah they sent away is not the Jephthah they came to beg. Never forget that. The Jephthah they sent away was not the Jephthah they came to beg. So don't look at yourself and say, oh, this one that you're rejecting me. No, they will reject you and nothing will happen. This is not Nollywood. They will reject you and nothing will happen. So what you have to do is, if you are rejected, take it as redirection. Take the rejection as redirection. Build yourself and then they will come. Because now you are a person of value. But if you don't build yourself, they will be happy that they rejected you. Are you getting this? So when people reject you, don't get angry. Don't cry. Don't cry. Don't cry. Instead, build yourself. The same people who left, they would come. They would come. You know, I watched the interview of Linda KG years ago, and she was sharing her story that when she started doing her blog and all of those things, she went to companies, she went to organizations seeking for, she went to companies, went to some banks seeking for loans and all of those things. They rejected her. They told her they were not going to be a part of what she's doing and all of that. She said no problem. She went on doing what she was doing, building herself. Guess what? 5 years down the line or some years down the line, the same banks that rejected her initially, they came back offering to want to sponsor what she was doing. What does that tell you? They will come. But they will not come to the version of you they rejected. Take note of that. They will not come to the version of you they rejected. They will come to the version of you that is of value. It was not the Jephthah that they rejected that they came back to. It was the Jephthah that was mighty man of valor that they came for, not the one they rejected from his father's house. Because they did not see any good in him when they rejected him from his father's house. But now they see the good in him as the mighty man of valor. They went to meet him. I said, please, come and help us. Please, please, Lao, come and help us. So your responsibility is to grow yourself. To grow yourself, to grow people, and they will come. They will come. Is this making sense? Are you learning something from this? Is this making sense, guys? Let me know in the comments. Is this making sense? Are you learning from this? They will come. So lesson number 1, no excuse is good enough. Lesson number 2, build people. Lesson number 3, they will come. They will come. I tell you, they will come. Never forget that. They will come. They will come. So let's move on to lesson number 4, because I have just 5 lessons to share with us in this story, the VOW. Lesson number 4. Lesson number 4, quite interesting lesson. And I hope that you will get this. So this is lesson number 4. Quite phenomenal. So let's go back to the text. Let's go back to the text. It says, and Jephthah said unto the elders of Gilead, did ye not hate me and expel me out of my father's house? And why are you come unto me now when you are in distress? And the elders of Gilead said unto Jephthah, therefore we turn again to thee now, that thou mayest go with us and fight against the children of Ammon. Be our head over all the inhabitants of Gilead. And Jephthah said unto the elders of Gilead, if ye bring me home again to fight against the children of Ammon, and the Lord deliver them before me, shall I be your head? And the elders of Gilead said unto Jephthah, the Lord be witness between us, if we do not so according to thy words. Then Jephthah went with the elders of Gilead, and the people made him head and captain over them. And Jephthah uttered all his words before the Lord in Mizpeh. Now let me explain this, which takes us to lesson number 4. Lesson number 4 is this: negotiate. Negotiate. See, I tell people this, that there are three important skills everybody should have. Number one, communication skills. Number two, negotiation skills. Number three, selling skills. These are three important skills that everybody should have. So you could see here, Jephthah did not just say, okay, I will come and fight with you. No, 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 no. He ain't going to do that. Jephthah said, if I go and fight with you, will you make me your captain? Will you make me your head? And he said, yes, as surely as the Lord lives, if you fight with us, we'll make you captain. So Jephthah was not just returning as somebody who was just coming to fight. He wasn't a mercenary. He was coming as a captain and a leader and a head over the children of Gilead. And that was possible because Jephthah negotiated that. See, you must learn to negotiate. I'll tell you this, and I'll tell you for free. Life does not give you what you deserve. Life gives you what you negotiate. I'll say that again. Life does not give you what you deserve. Life gives you what you negotiate. So Jephthah negotiated. Will you make me captain if I go with you? He said yes, and then he went with them. You see, sometimes the reason why you lose out on a lot of things is because you do not know how to negotiate your value. You don't So lesson number 4, negotiate. Jephthah did that. He negotiated and said, you want me to fight? No problem. I'll fight. I'll go to the battle with you, but I would not just go as another soldier. I would go as your captain. I would go as your head. And I told you, life will not give you what you deserve. Life will give you what you negotiate. Life will give you what you negotiate. So don't shoot yourself on the foot when it comes to negotiation. And I always say this, guys, the most powerful person on the negotiation table is the person who is willing to walk away without taking the deal. That's the most powerful person. The person who is willing to walk away without taking the deal. You know, when you go to the market, I'm not talking about the malls or the shops, right? When you go to the real local markets, right, you're going to be able to negotiate prices of goods and services. You're able to haggle prices, right? You're going to say, oh, this is 5,000. You say, no, I'm not going to give you 5,000. I'm going to give you 2,000. You're able to haggle prices. You can negotiate. Now, in that scenario, the most powerful person there is the person who's willing to walk away without accepting the deal. So sometimes when you go to the market to buy something, you start telling the seller, I'm going, I'm not going to pay, I'm going. The person says, okay, you can go. You walk away, you compare prices elsewhere, and then you come back. Why? The person that refused to budge is the most powerful person on the negotiation table. So if these guys had told Jephthah that they were not going to make him head, I can assure you Jephthah was not going to go with them. He was not going to go with them. But he negotiated that and said, You're going to make me your head and your captain. That's the only way I would go with you for this battle. Negotiate. Negotiate. Even God calls us to negotiate. He says, come, let us reason together. Let's negotiate. Say, come, let us reason together. So you must learn the skills of negotiating. You know, Abraham negotiated with God when God was going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. He said, if you find 50 persons, will you still destroy? Because with the way Lot left Abraham, there should be more than 50. Remember, in Genesis 13, the headsmen of Lot and Abraham were having strife. And Abraham told Lot, we are brethren, we cannot be having strife. Pick a portion and I'll go to the other opposite. And then Lot chose the portion that headed towards Sodom. He left with his headsmen. So in Abraham's mind, because Abraham had a household of 318 men in his house, 318. And I jokingly say that every day in Abraham's house is more than a wedding because they are killing one cow, cooking one bag of rice every single day. 318 men. You know, when Jesus fed the 5,000, they said it was 5,000 men. They did not count the women and children. I know how men eat. What one man can eat, probably 3 women can eat the same thing, what one man will eat. So in Abraham's mind, Lot will have more than 50 persons, so they can be spared. Unbeknownst to Abraham, things had really changed for Lot. Lot has seen a lot. Lot has seen a lot in Sodom. Because Hebrews tells us that righteous Lot, his soul was tortured to compromise. So Lot has seen a lot. I say this all the time. Be careful how you want to go solo, because sometimes you going solo can bring you so low. Lot left with herdsmen to Sodom, and he ended up in a cave with his 2 daughters, who eventually raped him who eventually made him drunk, and they slept with him. But Abraham was negotiating because Lot was there. So he negotiated 50. He went down to 40. He went down to 30. He went down to 20. He went down to 10. He negotiated. So in life, you must learn to negotiate. Jephthah negotiated with the elders of Gilead and said, if you make me, he negotiated it, make me your captain and your head, then I will go with you. And they did. They made him the captain and the head. Life will not give you what you deserve. Life will give you what you negotiate. So you must learn to negotiate. Are you getting this? And finally, lesson number 5, which happens to be the title for our conversation today. Lesson 5, which is the vow. The vow. Right? That's number 5, the vow. So Jephthah said, okay, he's going to go to the battle for them. And then he did something very striking, which I still don't know why he did it. You see, then Jephthah went with the elders of Gilead from verse 11, and the people made him head and captain over them. And Jephthah uttered all his words before the Lord in Mizpeh. And Jephthah sent messengers unto the king and the children of Ammon, saying, why hast thou to do this with me, that thou hast come against me to fight? So Jephthah sent message to the king of Ammon, and they replied, and all of that. So let me just skip down because of time. And it gets to verse 21. And the Lord God of Israel delivered Sihon and all his people into the hand of Israel, and they smote them. So Israel possessed the land of the Amorites and inhabitants of that country. Verse 23. So the Lord God of Israel had dispossessed the Amorites from the people of Israel, and shouldn't thou possess it? Wilt thou not possess that which Chemosh, the God, giveth thee to possess? So whomsoever the Lord our God shall drive out before us, them we will possess. And now, okay, let me just go down to verse 30. And Jephthah vowed a vow unto the Lord, and he said, if thou shalt without fail deliver the children of Ammon into my hands, then it shall be that whatsoever cometh forth of the doors of my house to meet me when I return in peace from the children of Ammon shall surely be the Lord's, and I will offer it up for a burnt offering. So Jephthah passed over unto the children of Ammon to fight against them, and the Lord delivered them into his hands. And he smote them from Ara even till thou comes to Minnith, even 20 cities, and unto the plain of the vineyards, and with a great slaughter. Thus the children of Ammon were subdued before the children of Israel. And Jephthah came to Mizpeh unto his house, and behold, his daughter came out to meet him with timbrels and with dancers, and she was his only child. Beside her, he had neither son nor daughter. And it came to pass, when he saw her, that he rent his clothes and said, alas, my daughter, thou hast brought me very low, and thou art one of them that trouble me. For I have opened my mouth unto the Lord, and I cannot go back. Hey! And she said unto him, my father, if thou hast opened thy mouth unto the Lord, thou shalt do me according to that which thou hast promised out of thy mouth. For as much as the Lord hath taken vengeance for thee of thy enemies, even of the children of Ammon. See, guys, the vow. You know, the thing that you really need to pay attention to here is the fact that Jephthah made a vow. Judges chapter 11, verse 30. It says, and Jephthah vowed a vow and said to God that if you would deliver the children of Ammon into my hands, the very first thing that comes out of my house to welcome me, I would offer unto you as a sacrifice. And then he went for the war, and God gave him victory. And as he returned back home, guess what? His daughter came out. The first person that came out to welcome him was his daughter. Came out with a tambourine, dancing, oh, victory, victory, victory. And when Jephthah saw it, Jephthah said, no, no. He broke down. He tore his clothes and said, no, I have made a vow. I have made a vow that the first thing that will come out of my house, I will offer to the Lord as a sacrifice. And the first thing that came out of his house was his only daughter, for he had neither son nor daughter. And he says, I have opened my mouth to make that vow, and I cannot take it back. See, the reason why we're talking about vow today is because sometimes people make vows under no duress whatsoever, and then they don't fulfill it. They don't hold it back. But this is Jephthah, in a scenario where he had every reason to want to hold back. You know, when you have only, it's difficult. When you have a lot of things, it's easy to pick which one you can let go. But when you have only, there's no other one. Just like Jesus was the only Son of God, and God gave him up for us. God did not hold him back. Jephthah had just one daughter. One. Perhaps Jephthah had thought that probably it will be an animal that will be the first to come out to him when he comes to his house, or even his maid or any of his servants will come out to welcome him. But then it was his daughter who was unaware of his vow. Because see, another thing you must know with vow is the fact that vow is between you and God. So vow is not the thing you tell to everybody, say, oh, I've made this vow with God. No, no, no. Vow is not what you put on your status to let the world know, or you post on your Instagram or on your TikTok. That's not what you do with the vow. The vow is between you and God. Jephthah had his only daughter, yet the daughter did not know the vow. The daughter was so close to him, but the daughter did not know the vow. So another thing you need to learn from this is when you make a vow, it's a commitment and a promise that you made to God. So other people should not even be aware of that vow. You know, many times the only time people think about vow is when they make a vow in church to say, okay, they'll give a certain amount of money at a certain time. So that's the only vow they know. No, there's more to vow than that. That's a promise that you made that you must keep. That's a vow. You know, at weddings, they call it exchange of vows. They will say, I do take you to be my lawfully, this, that. They mention the vows. And they say, I do. A vow is something that you promise to keep and uphold, regardless of the circumstance. And Jephthah said, I have opened my mouth to say this unto God. I cannot take it back. When you go back and do things that you had said you will not do, come back on the vow. You've not kept your end of the vow. You know when we sing the song, Covenant Keeping God, right? Covenant Keeping God. It's because he keeps the vow. He doesn't break his covenant. He doesn't break his vow. You also must learn that. And that's something you were teaching from this conversation. You must learn how to keep your vow. Jephthah was between the rock and the hard place. And sometimes I always ask, why did he even make that vow in the first place? He still would have won the war without making that vow. He still could have, because he was a mighty man of valor. Because he had already been declared a mighty man of valor before he fought this war. So this was not his first war. But he made the vow. And he must honor the vow. And interestingly, the daughter was a virgin. So you read down, the daughter asked for 2 months for her to go and mourn in the mountains and then come back so that Jephthah can now fulfill his vow. He still fulfilled the vow. He did not stop. He did not stop after the 2 months. He still fulfilled the vow. You see, we read in verse 39, and it came to pass at the end of 2 months that she returned unto her father, who did with her according to his vow, which he had vowed. And she knew no man. And it was a custom in Israel that the daughters of Israel went yearly to lament the daughter of Jephthah the Gileadite 4 days in a year. Jephthah still carried on with his vow. He gave her 2 months to go do whatever she wanted to do, to mourn and all of that. And when she came, he still carried out his vow. The vow is not something you play with. The vow is not something you joke with. It's something you promise to uphold and keep, regardless of the circumstance, regardless of the outcome. Jephthah had the only child, only daughter, no brother, no sister to the daughter, to the child. And yet, he had to keep his vow. When you make vows, do you keep them? When you make vows to yourself, to people, to God, do you keep them? Because that's the whole essence of this conversation on the vow, that you must keep your vow, regardless of what it is right now in your life. You made the vow, honor it. Honor it. Honor it. It's part of your sacrifice you have to make. The vow is a sacrifice. The vow is a sacrifice. It's part of the sacrifice you have to make. Honor your vow. Regardless of what the circumstances may look like, honor your vow. Jephthah did that. He kept his vow. His only daughter, a virgin at that, but he kept his vow. You too must keep your vow. I don't know the vow you may have made at the beginning of the year or sometime in the year. Keep the vow. Yes, the circumstances may not look favorable to keep the vow, but in spite of it's a vow, keep it, honor it, respect it, respect it. There was no story that, oh, God gave Jephthah other children. No, no. He made the vow, he kept his vow. And that's a beautiful lesson to learn. Don't go back on your vow. For married people, don't go back on your vow. You promised, you've said I do. Now it's time to actually do. It's time to actually do because you said I do. So don't go back on the vow. Don't go back on the vow. It's very important that you understand this. Don't go back on the vow. So these are 5 important lessons from Jephthah, which we title the vow. Right? Number 1, no excuse is good enough. Let's just go over them again. Number 1, no excuse is good enough. Number 2, build people. Number 3, they will come. Number 4, negotiate. And number 5, the vow. This, my friend, is our lesson from Jephthah, and this lesson is titled the vow. I hope that you've learned something today. I hope that this has been worth a while, and I hope that you would go back and practice some of the learnings from the life of Jephthah that we read about in Judges chapter 11. Right? So, guys, let's take a few questions before we get out of your face. So, let's take a few questions. So, if you have questions, feel free to send in your questions and we'll take them. And should in case we can't take the questions on the live, leave the questions on the comment section and we will take the questions in the comment section when next we come back and look at the comment sections. We'll take the questions, right? We'll reply you on the comment section. Once again, we appreciate you for being here. Thank you for being here today. And we look forward to other exciting series coming down your way this month of March. Remember, guys, there's always more on the upgrade side of life. And that's why we encourage you to leave good behind so that you can upgrade. Yes, upgrade. And what better way for you to upgrade than for you to keep the vow? Yes, you made the vow, keep the vow. The one you made the vow to honors it. He honors the vow. So you too must honor your vow. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Feel free, guys, to share this with your friends, your family, your loved ones, and even your enemies, right? They need to learn. Feel free to share this with them. Thank you so much for watching. God bless you.